Hey guys, welcome to Veriha's December Live Roundtable. Today we have with us Allie, who is in HR, and Rob, are returning to our Veriha Live Roundtables from safety. So today we're going to be talking about safety, kind of more situations that happen in the wintertime. I know we had the winter prep back in October, but this is kind of, I feel, coming at it from a little different angle, and then also good reminders for some of this stuff. So let's just jump right into it. Are there any special precautions a driver should take with the snow and the cold weather when parking for their 10-hour break?
They're going to want to make sure that if it's been snowing or it's very cold, that their brakes don't freeze up. One way of doing that is to kind of ride the brake as you're backing the last few feet into your stall. That heats the brakes up, that'll take care of the water and kind of dissipate it so it's not going to freeze up on you later on. You can also back in, park your truck and wait for a few minutes and then pull forward a foot or so, and that will also help to keep them from freezing up. Does the same type of thing. You want to make sure that you have enough supplies in your truck. One of the things that you're going to want is a hammer in case the brakes do freeze up, that you can get underneath the truck and bang on those brakes to try to free them up a little bit. One common error that some drivers will do is they will say, well, we're setting the tractor brakes, but we're not going to set the trailer brakes. That's something that you don't want to do. If there's any kind of an incline where somebody would accidentally hit you or something like that, that trailer then is at risk for moving. And so we don't want that to create additional problems.
Awesome. And we actually just posted, we're going to be posting on our Veriha Vault of Knowledge, a video where Jeff from maintenance is going through what to do if you have a frozen brake. He's demonstrating with the hammer how to get under after you set both trailer and tractor brakes. He mentioned chalking the brakes if you're on any kind of hill or anything, but he demonstrates, tapping the shoe to get that frozen brake to release, and then also to look with the S-turn so you don't end up flat spotting the tire. So that one will be going out soon too. Awesome.
Another thing you can do with that is if you do have clumps of snow around and you don't have a chalk, whatever else, put a clump of snow on the top of the tire. As you start to roll the truck, if you continue to see that clump of snow on the tire, you know it's not rolling.
Right. Awesome. Are there any special procedures for drivers to follow during a post-trip or a pre-trip inspection when we've got this severe cold and snow and the freezing rain?
One of the things you want to make sure that you're doing is making sure your lights are all clear. When wind blows, you tend to get that fine powder dust on your lights. With the LED lights, they don't clear as easily as some of the older ones did from the heat on that. And so you want to wipe them down. Obviously you can't get to the top clearance lights, but your brake lights, your tail lights, your directionals, the side directionals on the skirting, your headlights, that type of thing in the front you want to make sure are totally cleared off so that you can be seen.
Awesome.
And make sure you're wearing your ice cleats while you're performing your pre and post-trip inspection.
And you should never be getting out of your truck in any kind of weather like that without your yellow vest on as well.
Right. Awesome. If our driver ends up being stranded on the road due to a snowstorm, a blizzard, what does that driver need to do?
First of all, like I said before, you need to have adequate supplies. You're going to want to have some protein or power type bars in there. If you carry a cooler with other food, make sure that you have something to sustain yourself, because as temperatures drop, your body is going to be needing more energy. Okay, make sure that you hydrate. You'd be surprised at how fast that's going to go away from you, even sitting in a cold truck like that. You want to make sure that initially your flashes are on, and then you do put out your triangles so that you can be seen and somebody doesn't hit you on the side of the road. With the stacks, exhaust stacks, it's not so much a problem, but if you have one of the grass cutter types of exhaust systems that blow out the bottom of the truck, you want to make sure that you're going out periodically to make sure that that's not getting clogged up if your truck is idling and the fumes aren't coming into the actual cab of the truck with carbon monoxide and things like that. And again, you want to, as you're walking around your truck from time to time with your ice cleats and your vest on, you want to make sure that you're brushing off those lights so that they can be seen. Make sure you have enough winter weather gear. Warm boots, not just a pair of steel-toed boots, but something warm. You want to have possibly some snow-type pant, a heavy jacket, stocking-type cap, scarf, those types of things, so that when you do go outside, you're not at risk for exposure.
Awesome. So extra clothes, extra warm clothes, high protein based foods, a lot of water, good things to keep in the truck during this time of year. What should a driver do in the event if they find themselves in a multi-car pileup? On the highway, it's kind of inevitable that a few happen every winter. What should a driver do if they find themselves in that event?
You want to do the same thing you would do for any accident. First of all, make sure you're okay.
Right.
That's number one. After you ascertain that you're okay, then you want to call it in. Don't assume that somebody else is going to do it. You don't know what kind of shape they're in or anything else, okay? So you want to call into 911, then you want to call into the safety department here at Veriha so that we're aware of what's happening and we can support you in as many different ways as we possibly can. If it is safe to do so, you want to secure that scene then, okay? You want to get out, just make sure, if people are okay. The one thing you don't want to do is if somebody is complaining of pain or something and asking you to assist them out of a vehicle, unless their life is in imminent danger, like say the car's on fire, you don't want to do that. There are professionals that are on their way now that'll take care of any injured, people and things like that. Once you secure that scene, if you can get a couple of shots of any damage that might have occurred to our vehicle, you want to do that. And then probably the next best thing you can do is to get back into your truck, and if at all possible, I would even fasten my seatbelt, my safety belt on. There's nothing that says that somebody else isn't going to come by at a high rate of speed and hit you. So you want to always take care of yourself first, because you can't help anybody else or give officers any information unless you're okay first.
Awesome. So the new ELD mandate went live on this Monday, the 16th. Obviously, our drivers were already running e-logs, but how does this new mandate affect them? And then if you could just kind of touch on the importance of hours of service.
The ELD mandate, it's affecting all of our drivers now, especially with everybody having to have it. Parking is going to be a lot harder to come by at certain times of the day, okay, because it's so highly regulated. DOT, they're giving out violations and citations for even being as little as 1 minute past, one of the deadlines on your hours of service. We have the advantage, we've been working with it for a year, we've been kind of suffering through it for an entire year, we kind of know what to expect, but there's a lot of other drivers out there that aren't going to know what to expect. And as a result, some of those guys are going to be pushing too hard and perhaps not driving as safely as they should, not planning ahead as much as they should. The hours of service is kind of the next wave that DOT has been trying for years to monitor the driver's drive time and things like that, and this is allowing them to do so. So it's very, very important that we stay within those guidelines, because every violation can be a citation. Every violation, is CSA points both for the driver and the company. How does that affect us? If our scores get too high, then some of our customers are going to turn us off and say, well, you're not a safe enough company to, carry our freight. And so it can have a bottom line on everything from equipment purchases to salary increases and things like that.
Really encouraging drivers to take that 11th hour of driving to find a safe parking location instead of waiting to the very last minute.
Yeah, that's a really good call out with the parking, how the parking is probably going to be a lot more difficult. So, if drivers aren't thinking ahead and preparing with that 11th hour, they could be running into issues.
And before the ELD, drivers would drive right up into the very end, and on paper logs sometimes they were doctoring those a little bit. With the ELD, like Ali said, you have to stop driving to try to get someplace at the 10th hour and spend the last hour finding your safe parking.
Yeah, great advice. So kind of speaking of hours of service, What should a driver do if they run out of their hours while they're on the road due to the inclement weather?
If it's due to inclement weather, there is an exception
Okay.
that will allow them, to get to safe parking. However, if the driver does not put a remark in his log stating that the reason he was over during that period of time was because traffic had stopped due to an accident or due to that inclement weather, then they're going to be held accountable for that. If they put the remark in, it's up to the DOT officer on whether that's legitimate or not, or if it's reasonable, getting the violation. Reasonable lies in the hands of the authorities. Obviously, if he looks down there and says, well, gee, you drove for 16 hours and, you're 2 hours beyond and you drove an additional 150 miles, that's not reasonable.
Right.
Reasonable has to be, where is the nearest safe truck parking?
Mm-hmm. Okay, awesome. So as we're in winter, it's inevitable the Midwest parking lots are going to be icy, they're going to be snowy, they're going to be slippery. We start talking about our slip trips and falls. What should a driver do in the event that they, happen to fall, slip at a customer? What procedures should they follow?
Sure. They should report it to the customer first and then contact the safety department or myself to report that injury. They should also, if they can, take pictures of the parking lot location and any of the conditions around that contributed to the fall. And if it's an emergency, contact 911 to make sure they're not left in that situation for longer than they have to be.
Right. Mm-hmm. And then of course just making sure that they're utilizing the Yaktrax
Yes,
when
absolutely.
they're on customer or any parking lot
Yep.
for that matter.
Mhm.
As far as the Yaktrax, I put them on myself. Is that something that you should be, have them on the parking lot, of course, but as soon as you get into the building, be taking them off right away?
I would take them off. The metal bands on the bottom and tile floors, they're very slippery like that. So we here at Veriha have placed chairs by all the exits so that the minute you walk in the door, you can sit down and take them off, or the last thing before you walk out the door, you can sit down and put them on. So that you're safe outside, but you're not putting yourself at risk indoors.
Right.
Right. Because I was going to say, like I said, I put them on. So great to have in the parking lot,
Yes.
of course, but take them off when you get into the building because you don't want to increase your risk that
Exactly.
to fall.
Yes.
Yeah, slips, trips, and falls happen inside as well as
Yes.
out.
Yes, they do.
Right. Well, awesome. Well, I think that is all the questions that I basically had, unless you guys have any kind of thoughts still floating around.
And nothing further. No?
Oh, I'm good.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank
Very
you
good.
guys for joining me today.
Thank you.
And thank you guys for joining in, whether you're catching us live or on replay. We hope you all have a great holiday, and we will see you next month.
Thank you.